Most guys don't get blindsided by a single word. They get blindsided by the tone, the posture, the way someone talks to them like the decision was made weeks ago and today is just paperwork. This story is about spotting that shift early and responding like a grown man, not like a scared kid trying to fix the mood. It's about boundaries that actually change outcomes, separating resources, removing access, and refusing to audition for respect. Pay attention to the small signals, the cold delivery, the rehearsed lines, the way blame is packaged as honesty. And watch what happens when you don't negotiate your dignity. No speeches, no begging, just clear rules, calm actions, and consequences that stick. Saturday morning, suburban Nashville, my living room, my coffee cooling on the end table. I was on the couch tying my sneakers because I had a normal plan. Grocery run, quick stop at the hardware place, maybe mow the front if the rain held off. Boring. Responsible. The kind of life you build when you actually pay for your own roof. Claire stood by the bookshelf with her arms crossed like she was guarding it. Not reading. Not looking at me the way a wife looks at a husband. More like a manager waiting to fire somebody. I want a divorce. No warm-up. No shake in her voice. No tears. Just a flat announcement. Like she was telling me the trash goes out at noon. I didn't jump up. I didn't ask if she was serious. I just finished tightening the knot and looked up. Okay, I replied. That's a sentence. Now give me the part where you think you're entitled to say it like that in my house. Her mouth tightened. See? Predictable. I knew you'd do this. Do what? Act calm. Like you don't feel anything. Like you're above it. She tilted her head, and there it was, the contempt. You should have seen this coming. We've been dead for years. I leaned back and let a second of silence sit between us. Not to punish her. To watch her. You learn a lot when you don't rush to fill the air. Why now? I asked. She actually scoffed. Because I'm tired of living with a man I can recite. I know every word you're about to say. You're safe. You're routine. You're boring. I nodded once. So you're leaving because I'm stable? No, she snapped. Because you're empty. You don't make me feel anything. You don't fight for me. There it was. The test. The trap. If I fought, she'd call me controlling. If I stayed calm, she'd call me cold. I kept my voice even. If you're walking out, you walk out all the way. Don't do that thing where you make it sound like you're doing me a favor. Her eyes narrowed, like I'd stepped off the script she wrote in her head. It's not a favor. It's reality. Reality is you're standing 10 feet away from me like you're delivering a verdict. I glanced at the kitchen counter. You've got a plan, Claire. This isn't a mood. She held my stare for a beat too long. Then she said it, almost casually, like it was supposed to impress me. I already spoke to someone. A professional. I'm not doing this blindly. I let out a short laugh through my nose. Not because it was funny. Because it was clean. Clean evidence that this was not a breakdown. This was a strategy meeting. Got it, I said. So you didn't come here to talk. You came here to collect. Her jaw flexed. Don't be dramatic. Dramatic would be me begging you to stay because you called me boring. I stood up slowly, like I had all day. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to separate properly. We're going to communicate in writing. You're not going to freelance new rules day by day, depending on your mood. She blinked, and for a second I saw annoyance turn into something else, calculation. And you're not going to tell people some story about me being emotionally absent while I'm still paying for the life you live, I added. Her lips curled. Wow, there it is. Money. That's all you have. I walked past her toward the hall closet and pulled out a notepad I used for home projects. I set it on the dining table with a pen. Temporary house rules, I said. You want out, fine. But we're not roommates pretending we're a couple. You sleep in the guest room tonight. We split groceries. Any joint bills get reviewed. I'll handle the mortgage until we sort it, because I'm not destroying my credit for your new hobby. She pushed off the shelf like she was insulted by gravity. You can't just decide that. I can decide what access you have to me, I replied. And to my peace. She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried a different angle. So you're not going to fight. I'm not going to audition, I cut in. You already interviewed someone professional. Congratulations. The marriage has been outvoted. She took one step closer, like proximity was power. You're acting like you don't care. I met her eyes. I care enough to be clear. She stared at me, then turned away toward the kitchen like she needed a stage change to feel in control again. Fine, she muttered. I'll start the process. Start whatever process you want, I told her. Just understand this. If you leave, You leave without dragging my name through the mud to feel better about it. She glanced back with a half smile that didn't reach her eyes. You always think you can manage everything. I picked up my keys. Not everything, just myself. And as I walked out to the garage, she called after me, calm again, like she was practicing the version of herself she planned to sell to the world. You'll thank me later. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have taken that sentence and framed it, right next to the mortgage statements she never opened. The next week moved like a business transaction because that's what she wanted. Cold, efficient, fair. I didn't sleep in the same room. I didn't do the fake polite breakfast. I didn't chase her around the house asking for explanations like a man applying for his own marriage. I changed my schedule. I started going to the gym early, before she woke up, because I wasn't going to share oxygen with someone who looked at me like a mistake. On Wednesday, I met my buddy Ray at a diner off the main road. Ray's the kind of guy who fixes engines for a living and people for sport. He listens like a mechanic, quiet, focused, waiting for the rattle. He slid into the booth, glanced at my face, and didn't waste time. So she finally said it. I stirred my coffee. Saturday morning. Like a calendar reminder. Ray whistled softly. No tears. Not even a wet eye. He leaned forward. That means she's been packing that decision for a while. What's she after? I shrugged. She says I'm predictable. Ray snorted. Predictable is what you call a man when you can't control him anymore. I watched the waitress pour water into my glass. Simple action. Simple truth. She already talked to a specialist, I said. So she didn't come for a conversation. She came for a result. Ray tapped the table with one thick finger. Then you treat it like a result. You document everything. You separate money yesterday. You stop funding her freedom tour. I nodded. Already started. New rules in the house. Communication in writing. Ray smiled like he approved. Good. Because what's coming next is the soft voice. I'm sorry I was harsh. Don't fall for it. I almost laughed. You think she'll pivot that fast? Ray gave me a look. Mark, I've seen this movie. When the control slips, they bring out the warmth. It's not warmth. It's a net. That night, Claire tried it. I came home from work and found dinner on the stove. Something she hadn't cooked in months unless we had guests. She was sitting at the kitchen island with her hair down, wearing the calm expression of a woman playing reasonable. I made chicken, she said. I figured we should eat like adults. I set my bag down and didn't sit. We can eat like adults without pretending everything is fine. She sighed like I was exhausting. I'm not pretending. I was harsh. Saturday. I shouldn't have said it like that. There it was. The first softening. Light apology. Controlled. I picked up a plate and served myself. Noted. She watched me. So, you're not even going to ask if there's a way to fix it? I chewed slowly. You told me we've been dead for years. That wasn't a request for effort. That was a eulogy. Her eyes flickered. You always twist things. I don't twist. I remember. She leaned in a little, voice lower. I'm not trying to hurt you. I just want something different. Different, I repeated. And you expect different to be funded by me. Her face tightened again. That's not fair. I put my fork down. Here's fair. You want out, you start planning your own landing. I'll cover what I've always covered until the split is formal, but I'm not adding anything. No new purchases. No new shared debt. No sudden projects for the house. She stared at me like I'd insulted her identity. So you're punishing me. I smiled slightly. No, I'm removing confusion. Punishment would require me to care about teaching you a lesson. This is logistics. She stood up, chair scraping just enough to be dramatic without looking dramatic. You're impossible. I nodded toward the guest room hall. And you're sleeping in there tonight. Like we agreed. She walked away without another word, but I caught the quick glance at the living room, at the furniture, the clean floors, the life that didn't happen by magic. The next adult meeting came fast. Claire showed up to a conference room at a neutral office in Brentwood with a lawyer beside her. A sharp suit, sharp smile, sharp little notepad. Claire wore confidence like perfume. She kept giving me that tiny smirk, like she was waiting for me to finally crack. I didn't come alone either. My representative, Denise Carter, was in her 50s with a calm voice and eyes that didn't blink when people tried to intimidate her. She carried a folder that looked heavy for a reason. We sat down. The mediator, a gray-haired guy named Mr. Whitaker, did the polite opening speech about productive dialogue. Claire's lawyer jumped in like he'd been waiting for this his whole career. Mark has created an emotionally empty environment, he said, flipping pages. Claire has felt unseen for years. Claire nodded slowly, like she was a brave survivor of my terrible stability. I looked at Denise. She gave me a small, almost bored nod. Let them talk. Then bring receipts. Denise opened our folder. Before we discuss feelings, she said, we're going to discuss facts. Mortgage payments, debt repayments, household expenses, income contributions, timelines. Claire's smirk twitched. Her lawyer tried to keep control. This isn't about money. Denise's tone stayed polite. When one party wants the house and ongoing support, it becomes about money. Mr. Whitaker lifted his eyebrows, like he appreciated straight lines. Denise slid documents across the table. Mark has paid the mortgage consistently. Mark covered Claire's credit card balances multiple times. Mark paid down a personal loan in Claire's name. Mark also maintained the property. Claire leaned forward. I contributed. I worked too. Denise nodded once. Yes. And the numbers show the proportion. Claire's lawyer tried a new angle. Claire's emotional well-being matters. She sacrificed in ways that aren't on spreadsheets. I finally spoke. Then she shouldn't have called my stability boring while she was using it as a mattress. Claire snapped her head toward me. Don't talk about me like that. Like what? I asked. Like an adult who sees patterns? Her cheeks flushed. You're always making me the bad guy. I tilted my head. You walked in my living room and told me I should have predicted a divorce. That's not bad guy. That's just cold. Mr. Whitaker held up a hand. Let's stay practical. Claire, what are you requesting? Claire crossed her arms the same way she did by the bookshelf. I want the house. It's the only way I can start over. And I think Mark should keep paying until I'm settled. There it was. Freedom, served with my credit card. Denise didn't even look up. No. Claire blinked. Excuse me. Denise finally met her eyes. No. The house remains with Mark. He has the payment history and the financial basis. Claire can receive a fair division of shared assets, but the house is not a prize for deciding your board. Claire's lawyer leaned forward, voice sharpened. That's an aggressive stance. Denise smiled slightly. It's a realistic stance. Claire turned to me, trying to pull me into an emotional fight. So you're going to kick me out? I kept my voice level. You told me we were dead. You don't get to keep the body and ask me to carry it. Her lips parted like she wanted to slap me with a speech, but she didn't have one that worked in a room with paperwork. Mr. Whitaker cleared his throat and looked at the documents again. Given the financials and the property history, the recommended outcome is that Mark retains the home. Claire will need to relocate within a short timeline. Claire's smirk finally died. It didn't fade. It collapsed. No, she said, more to herself than anyone. That's not what we discussed. Her lawyer leaned toward her, whispering. Claire waved him off, eyes fixed on me. You're doing this to hurt me, she hissed. I leaned back in my chair. No, I'm doing this so you can't. Her eyes flashed. You think you're so calm, so righteous. I shrugged. I think I'm done funding disrespect. She stood abruptly. This is unbelievable. Denise didn't flinch. What's unbelievable is expecting to leave a marriage and keep the benefits like a subscription. Claire spun toward the door, then paused, hand on the knob, and glanced back at me with a look that promised she wasn't finished. You'll regret this, she said. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't chase. I didn't bargain. I won't, I replied. Because regret requires confusion. And I'm very clear. As she stormed out, Mr. Whitaker exhaled like he'd watched a balloon pop. Ray would have called it a controlled demolition. The microcliff came later that night, when I got home and found the guest room door wide open, Claire's suitcase gone, and the closet in the hallway half emptied like someone had started taking inventory. She wasn't just leaving. She was repositioning. 2 years changes a man when he stops bleeding attention into a place that doesn't respect him. The house stayed mine. I refinanced, painted the living room, bought a new couch that didn't carry the memory of silent Saturdays. I changed jobs too, moved into a management role at a mid-sized construction supply company, glass-walled office, steady money, steady pace. I kept my routines, but they were mine now, not something I was apologizing for. And then there was Hannah. I met her through a mutual friend at a community volunteer event. She was warm without being performative, direct without being cruel, the kind of woman who doesn't test you just to see if you'll dance. One night, she sat on my porch swing, legs tucked under her, and said, "You're consistent. That's rare." I smiled. Some people call that boring. She looked at me like I was an idiot for even repeating it. Some people confuse peace with a lack of value. That's when I knew I wasn't going back to the old version of my life. Not emotionally, not logistically, not spiritually, if you want to get dramatic about it. Then Claire showed up. It was a Thursday evening. Hannah was inside making pasta. I was outside checking the mailbox. I saw a car pull up and stop a little too close to the driveway like it belonged there. Claire stepped out, and for a second I barely recognized her. The confidence was gone. Not completely. She still tried to wear it. But it sat on her wrong, like a jacket borrowed from someone else. "Mark," she said softly, like we were old friends. I didn't step toward her. I didn't invite her onto the porch. I stayed on the walkway like a line had been drawn. "Claire," I replied, "you're not supposed to be here." She gave a small, careful laugh. "I didn't know there were rules." "There are now." She looked past me, not at my face, at the house, the porch lights, the neat yard, the calm. "I've been thinking," she began. "A lot." "Thinking," I repeated. "That's a new hobby." She ignored the sarcasm and tried the human tone again. I was harsh. Back then, I was sharp. I didn't handle it well. I raised an eyebrow. "You didn't handle anything. You announced it like a schedule." She swallowed. I was in a bad place. I nodded once. "You always were. I just used to carry it for you." Her eyes tightened at that, then she softened again. Second attempt. "I didn't find what I thought I'd find. I couldn't build anything real. And I miss us." Hannah opened the front door behind me just enough for the porch light to spill out. She didn't walk out. She didn't need to. Her presence was already a boundary. Claire's gaze snapped toward the doorway. Hannah's voice was calm. "Hey, Mark. Food's almost ready." I turned my head slightly. 2 minutes. Claire's nostrils flared. She was trying not to react, but her eyes kept scanning like she was counting upgrades. "So that's her," Claire said. "That's my life," I corrected. "And you don't have access." Claire took a step forward. "I'm not asking for access. I'm asking for a conversation. Like adults." I smiled a little. Adults don't show up uninvited after 2 years and call it a conversation. Her voice sharpened for a second. I didn't know where else to go. "That's not my problem," I replied. "You wanted freedom. Freedom includes doing your own logistics." She looked like she wanted to cry but didn't want to lose power doing it. "So you're just going to shut the door?" I nodded toward the street. "I'm going to do what you taught me, Claire. I'm going to be final." Her face hardened. "You're acting like I'm nothing." I didn't raise my voice. "You're acting like I'm still responsible for you." "I'm not." I stepped back, opened the front door, and paused just long enough to let the message land. "Goodbye, Claire." Then I closed the door. I thought that would be the end. That was the mistake. The next afternoon, I was at work. My assistant, Miguel, a younger guy with a dry sense of humor and a real talent for reading rooms, leaned into my office. "There's a woman at reception asking for you," he said. "She's intense." I didn't look up from my screen. "Tell her to schedule." Miguel hesitated. "She says she's your wife." I finally looked up. Not anymore. When I walked out, Claire was standing by the front desk like she owned the building. Glass walls. People watching. She wore a polite smile, the kind you wear when you want an audience to assume you're reasonable. "Mark," she said, loud enough for nearby ears to catch. "We need to talk." Receptionist Ashley, middle-aged, sharp eyeliner, zero patience, looked between us like she was watching a show she didn't ask to attend. I stopped a few feet away. "You can't come here." Claire glanced around, then back at me. "Relax. I'm just here to speak like adults." I nodded. "Then you'll respect adult boundaries and leave." She stepped closer, eyes sliding to the framed photo on my credenza visible through the glass. Me and Hannah at the lake, smiling like we had nothing to prove. Claire reached out and touched the frame lightly, like she was inspecting it, like she had a right. "That her?" she asked. I moved between her and the office entrance. "Don't touch my things." Ashley cleared her throat. "Ma'am, you can't be in this area." Claire gave her a smile that was too sweet. "I'm sorry, are you security?" Ashley smiled back, colder. "No, I'm the person who calls security." I almost laughed. Not out loud. Ashley was a gift. Claire's voice dropped. "So this is what you do now. Replace me." "I didn't replace you," I replied. "You resigned." She leaned in, eyes sharp. "She'll get tired of your routine too. She'll want more. And you'll be standing here again, acting calm while your life falls apart." I tilted my head. That's a lot of confidence for a woman who showed up uninvited because she missed my house. Her eyes flashed. "You think you're safe." I kept my voice low. I think you're trespassing. Miguel appeared at my side, casual posture, but his eyes were alert. Mark, do you want me to call building management? Claire's smile twitched. Audience pressure wasn't working the way she hoped. She backed up half a step, then delivered it like a fortune teller who wanted credit later. You'll remember this moment, she said. You'll wish you'd been nicer. I nodded once. No, Claire. I'll remember it as the day you proved you still don't understand no. She turned and walked out, heels clicking like punctuation. Ashley watched her go, then looked at me. Want her banned? Ashley asked. I didn't hesitate. Yes. That was my initiative on Chajori territory, not a scene, a policy. When I got home that night, I didn't tell Hannah, don't worry. I didn't ask her to be patient. I did the adult version. I checked the locks, upgraded the exterior cameras, changed routines. Not because I was scared, because my perimeter mattered. Hannah watched me install a new lock on the back door. Is this because of her? She asked. Yes, I answered. And because I should have done it sooner. She nodded like she appreciated the honesty. Then her phone buzzed, and her face changed. What? I asked. She turned the screen toward me. A post. Photos of Hannah from our weekend trip. Shots taken from angles we didn't take. Captions written like, concern, but dripping with poison. No names, but enough detail that anyone who knew could connect the dots. Comments already stacking up with strangers writing their own little stories like they were entitled to narrate our lives. My jaw tightened, but I kept my voice steady. Don't respond. Hannah's eyes were hard. It's her. I know. She stared at me. How long has she been watching? I didn't lie. Long enough to find my work. Hannah's voice sharpened. And you didn't warn me. That's on me, I admitted. I underestimated how far she'd go. Hannah scrolled. Another post. This one accidentally, highlighting the area near her workplace. Just enough to make people curious. Just enough to make her feel exposed. Hannah set the phone down carefully like it was hot. She was near my studio last week. My head snapped up. She what? She didn't come in, Hannah said. She stood across the street and watched. Like she wanted me to notice. I exhaled slowly. Okay, we're done being surprised. Hannah looked at me. This isn't about the past. It's about power. I nodded. Agreed. I grabbed my laptop and started documenting. Screenshots. Links. Dates. Comment threads. Everything. Clean timeline. No emotion. Just facts. Hannah watched me for a minute. You're calm, she said. I glanced up. Calm is not passive. She softened slightly. Good. Because I'm not living under someone else's shadow. Neither am I. I replied. New rule. She doesn't get to touch you through a screen. I'm handling this. Hannah leaned back. How? First, I said, we stop pretending silence is protection. Second, we take away her deniability. Hannah's eyes narrowed. Meaning? She answered it herself a second later, like she'd already decided. I'll meet her. I started to object, then stopped. Hannah wasn't reckless. She was strategic. Neutral place, Hannah said. Public. Coffee shop. I go alone. She won't get the satisfaction of seeing you square up. She wants that. I nodded once. I'll be close. 2 blocks, Hannah said. Not inside. Done, I replied. And you record it. Hannah smiled without humor. Already planned. The next day, I sat in my truck 2 blocks away, watching the entrance of a small cafe like it was a loading dock. Simple. Controlled. No hero stuff. An hour later, Hannah walked out. Her posture was steady. No shaking. No drama. She got in the passenger seat and held up her phone. She admitted it, Hannah said. My voice stayed low. All of it. Hannah hit play, and Claire's voice filled the cab. Too clear, too confident, too proud of herself. She said the posts were hers. She said she'd been watching. She said the goal was to remove Hannah so I'd be alone again. She said I belong fixing broken things. She said Hannah needed to break first. Hannah paused the recording and looked at me. She said it like it was common sense. I stared out the windshield for a second, letting the kill turn settle in. Not suspicion, not hints. A full confession, served cold. I nodded once. Okay. Hannah's eyes searched my face. That's it. Okay. I looked at her. Okay means the game is over. That evening, the doorbell rang. I checked the camera feed on my phone. Claire on my porch, dressed like she was going to a loud place. Hair done. Outfit trying too hard. Face set like she came to win something. Hannah stood beside me. Calm, arms relaxed. Want me to handle the door? I nodded. Yes, but I'm right here. Hannah opened the door and didn't step back. She didn't look scared. She looked like a woman protecting her home. Claire's eyes flicked past Hannah into the house, like she was scanning for inventory. Hannah smiled politely. Mark, your ex-wife is here. Looks like she's asking you to take her back. Claire's face tightened. Excuse me. I stepped into view behind Hannah and held up my phone. Hi, Claire. Her eyes locked on me, then narrowed. So you're hiding behind her now. I didn't respond to that. I tapped my screen and turned the speaker up. Claire's own voice poured out onto the porch. The cafe confession, clean and ugly. The posts, the watching, the plan, the line about breaking Hannah first. Claire went pale in real time. Not metaphorically, literally. Turn that off, she snapped. Hannah's voice stayed even. That's you. Claire's eyes darted. She tried to grab control with speed. You recorded me? That's pathetic. I looked at her like she was missing a basic adult concept. You confessed. She documented. That's not pathetic. That's responsible. Claire's voice rose. You're trying to make me look crazy. I kept my tone level. You did that yourself. All we did was save it. She pointed at Hannah. This is what you are, Mark. You always choose the easy thing. The safe thing. She's just a phase. Hannah didn't flinch. I'm not a phase. I'm a person you try to target. Claire's eyes snapped back to me. So what now? You think you can just erase me? I nodded once. Yes. Her mouth opened, then closed. She tried a softer angle, forced and quick, like a switch flipped. Mark, I made mistakes. I was upset. I cut her off with a calm sentence that didn't give her anything to argue with. I'm not discussing your feelings at my door. She stepped forward like she wanted to push through the threshold. I didn't move, but my voice sharpened slightly. Stop, I said. She froze, then laughed bitterly. Wow, Mr. Strong. I held her gaze. Here's the line, Claire. You crossed into my new life. You went after someone who didn't do anything to you. That's done. Her eyes glistened, not with sadness, with rage. You'll regret shutting me out. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't explain. I delivered the only sentence that mattered. I don't choose you, I said. And I'm not opening this door again. Claire stared at me, then at Hannah, then back at me like she was trying to find the lever that used to move me. There wasn't one. Hannah's hand rested lightly on the door edge. Not shaking, just ready. Claire's face twisted. You think you're winning. I gave her a small, almost tired smile. No, I think I'm finished. I nodded at Hannah. Hannah closed the door. Not a slam, just a clean, final click. Through the wood, I heard Claire's voice spike once, then fade as she walked away, heels losing rhythm on the porch boards like she couldn't decide if she wanted to storm off or collapse. I locked the deadbolt. Then I turned toward my kitchen where dinner was still warm and the life I built was still intact. 2 months later, the online noise died the way it always does when it can't feed on my reaction. Hannah kept her head up. Her clients stayed. My workplace stayed quiet because I'd already set boundaries with security and management. Claire didn't get a second stage. 2 years after the divorce, I was sitting on that same couch. New cushions, new peace, Hannah's feet tucked under her as she read a book beside me. The house wasn't a trophy. It was proof. Stability isn't boring when it's yours. Claire? I only heard about her through a mutual acquaintance once. She'd moved twice. Changed jobs. Burned bridges. Nothing dramatic. Just the slow consequences of trying to build a life off control instead of character. I didn't feel joy about it. I felt relief. Because the best part of my new life wasn't the house, or the job, or even the quiet evenings. It was this. Nobody in my home talks to me like I'm an obligation. And if they ever tried, they'd find out how quickly a calm man can become a closed door. Here's what I took from all of it. And what I'd tell any man who's still trying to explain his way back into respect. First lesson, tone is a signal. When someone announces a life-changing decision like they're reading a schedule, they're not inviting a discussion. They're testing how much they can take while you stay polite. When Claire told me I should have predicted it, that wasn't honesty. It was an attempt to make me responsible for her plan. The right move wasn't arguing about feelings. The right move was setting rules immediately, separate space, written communication, and clear limits on access to my resources. Second lesson, initiative beats reaction. If I had waited for her next provocation, she would have controlled the tempo. Instead, I changed the structure, financial boundaries, house rules, and later a public boundary at my workplace. Not a scene, a policy. People who rely on pressure hate policies because policies don't bend. Third lesson, never ignore a threat to your new life just because it comes wrapped in the past. Claire didn't come back because she suddenly respected me. She came back because she wanted the stability she used to insult. And when she couldn't get it directly, she tried to apply pressure sideways through Hannah's reputation. The mistake would have been endless conversations, public arguing online, or hoping it would cool off. The right move was documentation, perimeter protection, and removing deniability with recorded facts. Comfort is cheap if it costs your dignity. Peace is expensive, but it's worth every dollar and every closed door.